What up, everybody? We are down to the final 5 episodes of Power Book 2 Ghost, with part 2 of season 4 premiering on September 6th. And there are a lot of questions going into the remaining episodes. And one question is, how many characters will return for the final episodes? And will there be any big, unexpected returns? So in this video, I'm going to take a look at the past characters who could be making a return in part 2. Starting off with the characters who we know for sure will be returning from the part 2 trailer: Tasha St. Patrick and Rashad Tate. Tasha's in the trailer hugging Tariq, maybe after he just finished saving her life, or maybe after Tariq tells Tasha that Diana's pregnant with his child, or after something tragic happened. Tasha's currently in Witsec, and Tariq's enemies would love to get her location to get leverage on him. We last saw Tasha working at Shop Depot after being relocated in Witsec to a new town. Tasha no longer has an immediate known threat after hashing things out with Tommy, but Carter or Noma could be a problem, as well as Monet if she finds out the truth that Tasha is who shot her. Rashad Tate's in the trailer looking like he's about to go on demon time, possibly after the death of his brother Kamal, who is currently in a dangerous position working with Carter's task force and not knowing that they're dirty. Tate was mentioned several times in the first half of the season, primarily about his involvement in helping get Obi his green cards. Tate was elected to Congress in season 3. Because of that, he's probably living between DC and New York right now, and that could be part of the reason why we haven't seen him yet this season. Getting me two characters who made brief appearances in part 1, Blanca Rodriguez, Paz Valdez, and 2-Bit. If any of these characters were to return, it would not be good news for the St. Patrick family, because these characters have been ops dating back to OG Power. Blanca was in episode 1 telling Junior Valdez to leave the investigation into Tariq alone, but Junior didn't, and it cost him his life. Paz told Don Carter that the cops believe it was a school shooter, but she believes Tariq St. Patrick is involved. So I think Blanca is probably also looking into the death of her co-worker behind the scenes, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if she returns in part 2. And Paz now has nothing to lose, so if she's unsatisfied with Carter not taking Tariq down quick enough, she may try to take matters into her own hands. In Power, 2-Bit really wasn't around Ghost that much like that, as Ghost was more trying to get out the game. But 2-Bit did take it personal in Season 6 when Ghost charged into and shot up the ambulance that him and Tommy were in. And 2-Bit wasn't happy about hustling to come up with Tariq's ransom money for Vincent either. So there is a lot of history between 2-Bit and the St. Patrick family, including Ghost hiring him to kill Dre and 2-Bit testifying at Tasha's trial, with the most recent being Tariq stealing his Porsche back from 2-Bit. Because of that, I definitely think 2-Bit will return and have something to say in part 2. Getting me two characters from season 3 who we haven't seen on screen yet in season 4. Starting with Jenny Sullivan. She was said to be chasing after mobsters in episode 1 when Blanca was talking to Junior Young. So with that said, at the end of season 3, after Sax died, she said she was never going to give up going after Tariq. So I wouldn't count her out too fast, and I wonder if the mafia she's chasing after is the Savello mob, trying to link them to Tariq in some type of way. RSJ is possibly one of the most mysterious characters from Season 3 because of his possible connection to Ghost, but he has not been on screen yet in Season 4. Last we saw of RSJ, he was calling Tariq about the money he lost in the Ponzi scheme. It was said by Kiki that he left the country on his private jet to avoid being questioned by the feds. So he could come back in part 2 after things have cooled down and the feds no longer want to question him, and he could return to the country and make Tariq answer for the money he lost, because Tariq told him that he would take care of it, and RSJ responded that he better. They did kill Lucas, but they did nothing to get RSJ as much as a dime back. RSJ could also return as an enemy of Rashad Tate because he knows it was Tate who blew the whistle concerning the Ponzi scheme. Kiki was also part of the Ponzi scheme from Season 3 and Brayden's love interest, but I do not think she'll return in the second half of the season because it was said she went back to Ohio, and Brayden has now moved on to L, and I don't think Kiki would be interested in Brayden anymore now that he's doing coke. Sticking with former love interests who haven't appeared in Season 4 who is in Season 3, we have Tariq's former love interest, Lauren Baldwin, who saved Tariq and the crew from the Rico case at the end of Season 3. But her hand was forced by the Tejadas taking her parents hostage. Because of that, I don't know if she'll return at all, and if she was going to, I think it would have been as a student at Stansfield. Getting me to Harper Bonnet, who was the Stansfield professor in Season 3. And I do think we will see Harper return in Part 2, because it was said in Effie's character description that Harper would help her get into Stanford's robotic program. Also because she was Tate's love interest in Season 3, so he might turn to her after his brother's death. Tamika Washington had a couple scenes in Season 3. She's been a part of every season so far of Book 2 and knows a lot about Tariq, and she will always be a prosecutor at heart. And she questions Tariq about becoming a bigger monster than his father. A couple characters who made brief appearances in Season 3 is Tariq's grandmother Estelle and his sister Yaz. We will likely see them in Part 2 when Tariq visits Tasha. Hopefully, they are safe and survive this final season. A few characters who I don't think will return in Part 2 but could possibly make a surprise appearance is Simon Stern. We could possibly see him return if Tariq graduates because Tasha has agreed to give him Club Troop. Cash Grant, who made a very brief appearance in Season 1 when Tommy went to check on him. I do believe that Kevin Grant is connected to Cash in some type of way, so he might be a way to bring Cash back into the storyline. Cooper Saxe's family could return looking for answers about what happened to Cooper, specifically Riley, his niece, and Brayden's former love interest. Elisa Marie Proctor and the Italian Mafia, who I mentioned earlier, might be under investigation by Jenny Sullivan. And Stephen Ott, who could come back into the story with the return of Rashad Tate. Ott is also who I believe helped Ghost fake his death. So if Ghost were to return, we could possibly see an Ott connection. But if Ghost was to return, I think it would be more like in a situation like Unique at the end of Raising Kanan Season 3, where he just appears in the closing seconds of the show, or possibly not even until the closing credits and announcing a new spin-off. I could see something like the final scene having Ghost getting off a plane, returning back to the States after faking his death and saying it's good to be back home. Ghost could also return in the final episode to save Tariq, Yaz, or even Tasha or Estelle. But at the same time, he could also be back and be the one to take out Tariq himself for trying to kill him. But because Tommy said he gave Ghost his word he wouldn't kill him, I don't think Ghost wants Tariq dead. Getting me to Tommy, who made appearances on Book 2 in Season 1 and in Season 3. Tommy could have even been considered the overarching antagonist of Power Book 2 up until the end of Season 3 because there was always the lingering threat of Tommy taking out Tasha. From the time he first appeared in Book 2, he was gunning for Tasha at Monet's bar and was a looming threat until him and Tasha hashed things out. If Tommy is to return, it could possibly be from Tariq calling him for help. We do know that from the end of Season 3 that Tommy is now in contact with Tasha and Tariq, so he is just one phone call away. But would he actually help though? Because in Season 3, when Tariq asked him for help, he pretty much told Tariq that it wasn't his problem. If Tasha were to get killed, we could possibly see Tommy return to help Tariq avenge her death. And we could also see Tommy on Book 2 if Tariq is in a desperate situation and has to flee New York himself and calls Tommy to meet up in Chicago. This could be what begins to connect the two shows, Ghost and Force, for a future book. But this list of characters just goes to show why an additional book is needed, because right now they already have more characters than they have storylines that they can fit into one series. And a lot of these characters could also fit into the Tate spinoff Influence. And there you have it. Let me know what characters you want to return in part 2, as well as your thoughts, theories, and predictions in the comments.